thing is, I lived in Kentucky for a year. I did my diploma there, but I didn't want to continue studying there. So I left my scholarship and then I moved to Australia and I lived there for 6 years. So plus two pashi चाहिँ मलाई चाहिँ anything I did, I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to leave a legacy. And when I was working in Australia, after a certain point in the corporate field, that's it. You get stuck with more.
त्यहाँ कपी कलम लिएर स्कुलमा पढाए जस्तो हुँदैन नि त प्रोफेसनल लेभल ट्रेनिङ भनेको त त्यहाँ गएपछि युल मिट अदर पिपल you know there are so many other opportunities ढोका खोल्छ जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ and that's true.
So number one, employer branding किन गर्नु पर्यो तपाईले? So you get right people, exactly like you said. If you want to attract right people, you can't just post one vacancy ad and expect smart people to be excited by it. They need to know what it's like working there. Will you pay on
Supported by Bookverse and Media 9.
Welcome to Ads Podcast. If you have not yet done so, hit that subscribe button. If you love the podcast, make sure to like, share, comment, and do give us your ratings on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Today on Ads Podcast, we have with us Pranayna Kc, someone who perfectly blends international experience with local impact. From studying and working in Australia to leading marketing and branding at the top companies in Nepal, she is now paving her own path as co-founder of Hivelaya, a platform dedicated to lifelong learning and upskilling. Pranayna is a passionate advocate for purposeful growth, smart strategy, and creating real opportunities here in Nepal. Let's dive into her journey, her vision, and what's next. Welcome to Ads Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you so much. के छ हाल खबर के चलिरहेछ जिन्दगीमा
हुँदैछ नेपालमा एन्टरप्रेन्योर भइएछ सो इट्स एन अपहिल ब्याटल बट जाँगर गएको छैन.
You recently came back from Australia.
I did. I was just visiting this time.
Okay.
Just visiting.
Okay. Then you have your sisters.
Yes, my sisters are there. My nieces are there. And also I lived there for 6 years. So it feels like second home in a way.
Which part of Australia?
Western Australia, Perth.
Perth, ma? How is Perth, by the way? I've never been to Perth.
Perth is relatively quiet. It's like मैले पहिला, I mean, this is many years ago, of course, it's developed quite a bit. Australiaको गाउँ भन्थे because it's relatively quiet. So it's changed massively and the Nepali population in Perth has really grown. But I love it. It's very serene, quiet. The beaches are not that crowded. So it's incredible for me.
Next time जाँदाखेरि Perth जान्छु होला म.
You have to. I mean, the beaches there are just stunning. It's incredible.
Last time Sydney चाहिँ गएछु त्यहाँ चाहिँ that's a different vibe जस्तो लाग्यो.
You know what's funny? Australia, I've not been to any other city. I've never visited Sydney. I lived there for 6 years. I've gone there almost every year besides COVID time, but I've never been to any other city. It's a whole joke.
Interesting. Anyway, Kere, what was life at Australia like त्यति बेला? When you went? When did you go, by the way?
I finished my bachelor's there, so I was there from 2000.
Plus 2 सकाएर गइदिएको?
So plus 2 सकाएर I went to States. There I got a scholarship. So I was in Kentucky.
Okay.
Of all the states, I was in Kentucky for a year.
And had Kentucky Fried Chicken every day.
I didn't.
Okay.
So the funny thing is, I lived in Kentucky for a year. I did my diploma there, but I didn't want to continue studying there. So I left my scholarship and then I moved to Australia and I lived there for 6 years. So plus 2 pashi चाहिँ States गएको थिएँ पहिला.
Did you say you left your scholarship?
Yes, I did. So I got 100% scholarship, and then America. My sister also used to study in States. And I looked at. She's much smarter than I am, much more studious than I am, more academically inclined. And मलाई चाहिँ काम गर्ने रहर पढ्ने चाहिँ I wasn't always a good student. Luckily, I got a scholarship, but I was thinking about my future there and I wanted to start working, so I fought with my parents, left my scholarship and said, "Ma afai tirchu, ma Australia janchu padhna bhanera," and that's how that journey began.
This is when you were studying bachelor's.
Yes.
Like you decided pretty young. That's good. Having clarity of what you want to do in life in early age is always good, no?
I just wanted an excuse not to study, to be honest. It was more of that than something else.
Okay. So then what happened in Australia in this Suchi?
So I was there for 6 years. I was working. That's where my career began. I started. So they, like any other student, I had to pay for my tuition, right? So I went with my resume, started distributing in malls, applying for jobs, and that's how I got my job at Vodafone. 200 resumes, every single store in the mall, kiosk ma garo, if there's any vacancy, please let me know. That's how it started. So that's how my career actually began. So I started working with Vodafone. I worked there with that company for 6 years. Until by exam, I was doing a lot of side jobs like telemarketing, tele-sales, also door-to-door sales. So I was doing a lot of different kind of jobs at that time. But to be honest, the professional that I am today, the 6 years in Australia pretty much shaped it.
Of course. तर यो बाहिर जाने कुरामा के होइन बाहिर जानु राम्रो पनि हो जस्तो लाग्छ इन अ वे है तर अहिलेको टाइममा खोइ धेरैजना बाहिर गएर पनि फेरि प्रब्लम पनि भइरहेछ फेरि व्हाट डु यु फिल लाइक
So बाहिर जान राम्रो हो in the sense it does. I mean, I've often talked about it. The last time we talked, I've said this as well. The way the education system shaped me, ma India ma school padeko, and India ma pani pretty much like the Nepali education system, where opinions, what you thought about a certain thing, wasn't necessarily encouraged. So it was more the rotting system, like rotera padne, what's in the book. You don't question your teachers. And also that exposure to different cultures. So Australia, what I actually learned was these different cultures that I was exposed to. I had a friend who was from La Reunion Island. I had a friend who was from Belgium. I had a friend who... And understanding that we are so human at the end of the day, but these cultures and studying with people who see the world from a completely different viewpoint, that actually helped me as a human being so much more and helped me become more empathetic and a better leader, a better professional as well. तर बाहिर गएको फाइदा चाहिँ त्यो हो, that exposure to cultures beyond what you might read or know. And that's very important. I feel that फर्केर आउने पनि it should be a choice. We should have enough opportunities.
So what made you like come back after like 6 years of experience in different companies, all that stuff? What made you come back to Nepal? Is it the love for the country, or is it something else, or is it
love for the country? Yes, but kasto bhanda it. I'm also practical and pragmatic in that way. Love for the country won't. I have big dreams. I've always been ambitious. If anyone was to describe me, that is probably a word that they would use. The love for the country matra bhanera hoina. Malai चाहिँ anything I did, I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to leave a legacy. And when I was working in Australia, after a certain point in the corporate field, that's it. You get stuck with mortgage and EMI, and that becomes your life. And the thing that I used to think about is this what I want to be known for? Like, I would have had no impact. I would have probably made good money, bought a house, bought a car of my dreams because I love cars. But I was like, would that be it? And I often share this. You can actually get lost in it. The comfort becomes your life. So the reason I came back is I wanted to make an impact, and I wanted people to remember me for the work that I do. And I felt deep down, always in my gut, that Nepal would give me that.
Interesting how you're saying it. But then again, couldn't you have done the same thing in Australia as well? Nepal नै आउनु पर्ने के थियो because the situation in Nepal, I'm sure when you came back wasn't that good, because like your most of your adulthood भनौँ न एक हिसाबले मतलब you grew up there जस्तो खालको भयो नि त +2 पछि नै बाहिर नै बसिरहेको मान्छेले नेपालमा आएर म केही इम्प्याक्टफुल काम गर्न आउने decision could have been like really difficult. You know what I mean? But where did you want to create that impact? Is something you were clear when you were there कि मतलब आएर एक्सप्लोर गरौँला अनि हेरौँला भन्ने खालको थियो कस्तो थियो?
You know, it's funny. Ever since I was a student, right, I moved to India from my 8th grade. I was always an outsider. I was always a minority in that way. India ma panta, I was a minority. Nepalan bhanera, there was this whole joke. And after that, I went to States, and then I was still a minority. To the level of minority that I wasn't aware. And it didn't feel... the thing, especially at that age, I constantly questioned was, where do I belong? So where do I fit
Yeah,
in?
sense of belongingness चाहिँ अलिकति हुँदैन है बाहिर. किनभने लास्ट टाइम मैले के अरे अर्को पडकास्टमा अर्निकोसँग पनि कुरा गरेको थिएँ कि द रिजन वाइ ही वान्टेड टु कम ब्याक एज वेल कि डु यु वान्ट टु बी के एउटा इक्जाम्पल दिएको थिएँ सानो फिस इन अ बिग पन्ड अर अ बिग फिस इन अ स्मल पन्ड टाइपको इक्जाम्पल थियो क्या किनभने त्यहाँ गयो भने चाहिँ एभ्री टाइम एभ्रिवेयर वेयर एभर यु गो यु विल अलवेज बी द्याट माइनोरिटी नि त तिमीलाई किन एउटा अमेरिकन कम्पनीले एउटा अमेरिकन मान्छेले तिमीलाई अपग्रेड गरोस् त अथवा तिमीलाई हुन्छ नि अपर्च्युनिटिजहरू किन दियोस् त सिमिलरली विथ एनी अदर कन्ट्री आफ्नै मान्छेहरू खोज्दो रहेछ धेरै ठाउँमा भन्ने खालको फिलिङले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि हि केम ब्याक टाइपको कुरा थियो होइन सो इज इट द सेम काइन्ड अफ फिलिङ
It makes sense. I mean, it is at that point also because I think about it, especially when I have difficult days here and I feel like I'm not working to my full potential or living the life that I could have possibly built for myself. I do get those thoughts. But had I had access to platforms like we do today, like social media gives you access to all these cultures all at once, like all these continents, and we didn't have that back then. We were still using Skype at that point. So it did feel like that. I didn't feel like I could belong and I didn't feel like my voice would reach my people, if it makes sense. But funnily enough, after I came back about 6 months later, I felt more of an outsider here. नेपालमा आइसकेपछि चाहिँ झनै फिट इन भएन कि म बिकज नयाँको न त्यहाँको and then I felt more lost after I came back though.
Immediately after you came back, what did you do? Did you get a job somewhere? Did you start something on your own?
So I was doing some consulting projects for some UN agencies. Again, I didn't know how to look for jobs after I came back. I was like, what do I do? And LinkedIn, which is what I used to use, so but I knew someone how things work in Nepal. I knew someone who was looking for someone, and then somehow they found me. So it's always like kosle chinansa, but that's how I found, and I became the head of marketing when Vespa was relaunching in Nepal again.
Nice. Oh yeah, I think we talked about this in our other podcast.
In our other chats.
In our other channel, right? त्यो त्यसबेला कुरा भएको थियो हैन. So Vespa was the first job that you did after coming back.
Yes.
Right. And then what happened? How did you land the Daraz job?
Well, that has happened much later. So much of life happened after Vespa. So after Vespa, I went to do my master's in Singapore. And then I completed my master's in public administration, for which I got a scholarship as well. And then I came back. I was CEO for New Nepal. New was launching in Nepal, and he became the first officially.
NIU.
NIU.
New on scooter. Yeah.
New Khojao was our tagline.
Okay.
And then I was running that for 2 years. After that, I moved to Mumbai. I worked there for 2 years as well. Worked for a consulting MNC. I worked for a health tech startup. Then I came back, and that's how that has happened. So a lot of life happened in the middle as well.
I can only imagine. How's Mumbai like? You mentioned Mumbai as well. Mumbai, you were there for two years, you said.
Yes.
Right?
I was there for 2 years, but 7 months I was stuck in an apartment by myself during COVID. So I was a hermit for 7 months. Ekle.
So COVID हुँदाखेरि you were in India? Oh.
So COVID, I was in India. Mumbai, India for me in my professional journey completely changed my perspective on accessibility. Like how big the world is from where you can sit. Like you could be a small startup co-founder, you could just have an MVP, but they are so courageous and gutsy. They're like $1 million. The funding उठाइदिन. But India changed me as a professional that way. किनकि पर्समा काम गर्दा it still felt isolated in a certain way because I was still working with very Western Australian clients. So in Nepal mata, you know the culture very well. It is pretty siloed. India गइसकेपछि चाहिँ they dream big and they're not afraid to go and catch it. So India really opened my eyes up to how big the startup world itself is and how big the world is.
You've seen in and out of like most countries, I'll say uta gayo, US gayo, Singapore gayo, India gayo. So what's this cultural difference that you feel in terms of corporate culture, not in terms of like other type of culture? The company culture, what's the major difference that you see like in Australia and India and in Nepal?
So other countries pretty much they've aligned because they work with each other quite a lot. The exposure bhakoले culture, professional culture has somehow aligned. त्यो भन्न खोजेको professional र personal boundaries they understand. There is a better understanding of that. I often say this, and I still stand by it. Nepalma, the biggest problem I see in the professional sector is that we don't know how to differentiate personal and professional boundaries. And it does become important because you don't think from your heart a lot of the times. You don't think from your ego when you take decisions. It's a business decision at the end of the day. At the end of the day, what you care about is profit and loss. So you can't think from your heart and ego, right? यहाँ चाहिँ ईगोबाट पनि धेरै decisions लिन्छ क्या हामीले. Whereas in other cultures, Singapore, India is very much aligned with the international culture. There's very clear distinction between professional and personal boundary. Like calling after 7 o'clock, they will apologize. They will think about it 100 times before they would do it. यहाँ चाहिँ जति बजे पनि फोन गर्दै हुन्छ त्यो एटिकेट हुँदैन कसरी रिच आउट गर्ने what are the things you should say and like I said that's the biggest difference I see but otherwise outside it's pretty much aligned.
What's like the notable thing like besides calling beyond office hours what other notable things you find different?
I mean we talk about nepotism as well the sense of if I like this person they will get promoted. If I like this person, I will let go of their mistakes. Feedback, dine, line. Okay, if I was to answer it, feedback, a notable difference, how are we supposed to grow as professionals if you don't know how to receive or even give feedback? And leaders, we don't know how to give or take feedback. And without feedback, it's very difficult to grow. But a professional or personal boundary clear, dina pani aunsa, lina pani aunsa, which helps us grow. Feedback specifically.
अलिकति लर्निङ कल्चर पनि नभएर जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई. What do you say? अलिकति नेपालमा के हैन एउटा करियरको सर्टन पोइन्टमा पुगिसकेपछि अब मलाई नै थाहा छ भन्ने टाइपको एटिट्युड आउन थाल्ने हो कि यु नो व्हाट आई मिन इनिशियल फेजेसमा लेट्स से इन्टर्नशिप फेजेसमा अलिकति लोवर लेभलको फेजमा चाहिँ अलिकति मरिहत्ते गर्ने अलिक काम पनि धेरै गर्ने हुन्छ नि अलिकति पुश गर्न खोज्ने. Don't you think that's the same kind of attitude that people need to have, like even at the highest level, where there's more where's the whole of the market is saturated and त्यहाँ grow हुन झन् गाह्रो हुन्छ नि त. Level 1 बाट level 2 जानु पो सजिलो हो त तर level 2 बाट level 3 जानु त झन् गाह्रो हुन्छ नि त.
Absolutely.
And that is when people get a little stagnant जस्तो feel हुन्छ कि मलाई. What do you feel about that?
No, I agree with you. हामी साइलोजमा काम गरेर भएर पनि we've had this attitude of not wanting to push ourselves. Challenge नभएर पनि हो. पहिला त we were just working with people within the same culture and country neither. But I feel like that is changing. Like I just want to highlight, like you are also an example of that. You were talking about how difficult it is to set up this podcast system, but you're trying to do this. You're also expanding your horizons. I think it's changing because oile cross-border pani we're working with international clients as well. Hamro fintech industry na here bani it's transformed so much. Think about all the technology companies that have come up, companies in tech that have evolved at the moment. You have to learn and grow, otherwise they will never expand. Now they're working with international clients. Same with marketing. There are a lot of agencies here that do work for international clients. So luckily, at least as of 2025, I see a lot of change in that. I think we are pushing ourselves because our horizons have broadened and we're pushing ourselves and challenging as well. पहिला त challenge नभएर पनि learning culture अलि stagnant भएको जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई.
यो लर्निङको कुरामा चाहिँ नि अब in a way somehow I have landed into a learning industry पनि के education industry पनि के. So in a way तर my के भन्छ focus is on the advertising industry part of it all. It's very niche based. It's हैन के मतलब जे पनि सिकाउने भने एडभर्टाइजिङ इन्डस्ट्रीको लागि चाहिने प्रोफेसनल्सहरू बिल्ड होस् भन्ने इन्टेन्सनबाट चाहिँ नि एड्स एकाडेमी चाहिँ इज समथिङ I started, right?
That's incredible,
right?
By the way.
Thank you so much. But similarly, you have a similar journey is what I feel. Okay? You also started Hivelaya, right? Which is also a learning platform now, right? You've been doing a lot of corporate trainings and recently you have, I believe you have already launched a new website where people can, go and buy online courses as well. Tell me a little bit about how Hivelaya started. What is Hivelaya and how did it start? After your Daraz journey, right? How did you like go to being an entrepreneur from a what do you call it, from an
full-time
corporate full-time corporate employee बाट कसरी entrepreneurship journey start गर्ने विचार आयो?
म त लाइफमा कहिले अन्टरप्रेन्योर बन्दिनँ भनेर भन्थेँ बिकज धेरै स्टार्टअप्सहरूसँग काम गरेँ अनि आई नो हाउ डिफिकल्ट इट इज. इट माइट लुक रोजी एन्ड देयर इज एन अन्टरप्रेन्योर इभेन्ट ह्यापनिङ एभ्री अदर डे बट आई नो हाउ डिफिकल्ट इट इज बिकज आई कन्सल्टेड विथ अ लट अफ स्टार्टअप्स. म लाइफमा कहिले अन्टरप्रेन्योर बन्दिनँ भन्ने मान्छे म. I used to say, unless I come up with an idea that won't let me sleep, because I feel that passionate about, I want. But that's how Hivelaya began. Hivelaya began as, like all great startups should, from a problem. Problems चाहिँ के देख्थेँ भन्दाखेरि again vacancies-हरु खाली हुन्थ्यो, resumes आउँथ्यो, तर इन्टरभ्यूमा बोलाउँदाखेरि टाइममा नआइदिने, कसरी बोल्ने नआइदिने, इन्टरभ्यू दिन नआइदिने, double masters, PhD, but you don't know how to communicate your skill. It is a big problem around the world, नेपालमा मात्र हैन, तर यहाँ specifically छ because again schoolदेखि नै we're not encouraged to vocalize how we feel, what we think, or have opinions. I mean, that's how Hivelaya began because I wanted to transform the professional landscape of Nepal. My sister started it. I took over, but companies-हरुमा नै how do we push, like you said, how do we challenge leaders to become better leaders? And who is there to really give them feedback to start with? And that's how Hivelaya began. And we went into companies and started training a lot of leaders. We did a lot of one-on-one executive coaching as well. But even for teams, how do you feel confident in yourself? And tapaiko skill 10 cha, but if your communication skill and your ability to be able to express is 2, your entire skill level is 2. So Hivelaya started with that, and virtual courses integrate गरेको चाहिँ accessibility हो, जसलाई पनि access हुनु पर्यो. Especially Nepali diaspora as well. यति दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनीहरू बाहिर गइरहनु भएको छ, तर उहाँलाई सबैभन्दा चाहिने communication हो. And who best to learn from than someone from your culture, and that's why I made sure that it was available online. And we've also partnered with company like Happy Minds, so your accessibility ko lai pani across Nepal, but also for the Nepali diaspora.
So whoever is trying to grow in life, trying to improve in life, especially trying to land a better job than they are in right now, एउटा स्किल सेट एड हुनु आफ्नो आर्सनलमा भनौँ न होइन. अफकोर्स मेबी फाइनेन्समा राम्रै होला अथवा कुनै एउटा सेक्टरमा राम्रै होला, तर इफ यु आर नट बिङ लाइक यु सेड एबल टु एक्सप्रेस यर थट्स, यु नो, be communicative towards your team members, be a good leader, यस्तो खालको स्किल सेट्सहरू चाहिँ चाहिँदो रहेछ. And then only you can excel in your career, right? तर in your experience so far, होइन, to all the people you have trained भनौँ न एक हिसाबले, what's the attitude that you have found? Is it, मतलब usually कस्तो भइदिन्छ भन्दाखेरि, मैले आफ्नो एक्सपिरियन्स पनि भनेको होइन, usually training लिन्छु भन्ने लाइक यु सेड कि feedback training also comes with feedback, no? त्यो लिने एउटा बानी हाम्रो कल्चरमै नभएको जस्तो चाहिँ मलाई फिल हुन्छ. र मैले ट्रेनिङ लिनुपर्छ है, मैले ट्रेनिङ लियो भने म आज यहाँ 1मा छु भने वाट्स द वर्स्ट थिङ द्याट क्यान ह्यापन, 2मा त पुग्छ नि त कमसेकम होइन, डबलै भयो नि एक हिसाबले त होइन, 5 नपुगे पनि, यु नो व्हाट आई मिन, 5 टाइम्सले ग्रो नहोला तर 1 को 2 त हुन्छ भन्ने खालको एउटा माइन्ड सेटको चाहिँ म अलिकति त्यो, द्याट इज समथिङ द्याट आई बिन एडभोकेटिङ कि एभ्री अदर ट्रेनिङ द्याट यु फाइन्ड online or physical or wherever you feel like you can get connected with different people, it's not just about, training is not just about भनौँ न जाने अनि कपी कलम लिएर स्कुलमा पढाए जस्तो हुँदैन नि त. प्रोफेसनल लेभल ट्रेनिङ भनेको त त्यहाँ गएपछि युल मिट अदर पिपल, युल होइन, देयर आर सो मेनी अदर अपर्च्युनिटिज, ढोका खोल्छ भन्ने जस्तो लाग्छ कि मलाई चाहिँ. एन्ड द्याट इज आई थिङ्क द्याट वी सुड बी भोकल अबाउट एन्ड टक मोर अबाउट दिज थिङ्स, सो द्याट भोलिको दिनमा हामीले जे ट्रेनिङ अर्गनाइज गरे पनि धेरैभन्दा धेरै मान्छेहरूले त्यसको फाइदा उठाउन आओस् जस्तो लाग्छ कि मलाई. तर स्ट्रगल नै त्यसमा भइरहेको हुन्छ, एज यु नो, राइट. कन्सर्ट कुनै भयो भने अथवा यु नो रेमी नयाँ रेस्टुरेन्ट खोल्यो भने चाहिँ त्यहाँ 10,000 20,000 खर्च गर्नको लागि जानलाई एभ्रीबडी इज रेडी. बट त्यो ट्रेनिङ भन्ने बित्तिकै अलिकति यसमा के पाउँछ त होइन, यसमा कति घन्टाको हुन्छ त, कति दिनको हुन्छ त, डिस्काउन्ट पाउँछ होइन, यस्तो यस्तो खालको कुराहरू. आइ एम स्योर यु फेस द सेम थिङ. व्हाट डु यु थिङ्क अबाउट दिस? यो हाम्रो इन्टेन्सन त एकदम राम्रो हो नि त होइन, दिज आर द रिजन्स वाइ वी आर डुइङ दिस. नत्र हामीलाई के छ र होइन, त्यो ट्रेनिङ दिइराख्नुपर्ने हामीलाई जरुरत छैन नि त होइन तर यो ट्रेनिङ त्यो बनाएको भनेको नै एउटा त्यो void फिल भएर सो द्याट एभ्रिबडी गेट्स टु ह्याभ द्याट लेभल अफ स्किल सेट कि मान्छेले नेपालमा बसोस् चाहे बाहिर जाओस् अपर्च्युनिटी पाओस् राम्रो ठाउँमा काम गरोस् एउटा डिपार्टमेन्टल स्टोरमा स्टक भएर बस्नु नपरोस् भन्ने इन्टेन्सन हो नि त होइन हाम्रो चाहिँ राइट बट देन अगेन त्यो ट्रेनिङ लिने मान्छेको चाहिँ 5,000 के पाइन्छ भनेर यु नो व्हाट आई मिन त्यस्तो खालको क्वेसन्सहरू आउँछ कि
So honestly, it's more human nature because Nepalma matra haina yo global cheez नै हो. We are trying to sell something intangible जुन देखिन सक्दैन जुन पाइहाल्न सकिँदैन. It's not physical. Anything non-physical, non-tangible to buy is an extremely difficult decision for human nature. Kiniki at least hizo matra I was talking about this, like you said 5,000. You spend that much on a serum, on skincare, on shampoo. You think about how much you go and spend in a restaurant. How long does that satisfaction last for you? It's probably 30 seconds as long as you're chewing it. You don't taste it anymore. But for that much, you're willing to spend 10,000, 5,000, 6,000. But we're trying to at least experience it. It's non-tangible, so it's a more difficult decision to buy. And besides that, again, because what we do when you're learning, it's a challenge. I often talk about this. My job as an educator, as a trainer, is to come and make you uncomfortable. Because when you give feedback, when you're asking people to think differently and challenge themselves and alikati differently bolnus bhane pani, like I do communication, right? So even with leadership, ani so manchere यसरी bolनुहुन्छ एकदम soft bolनुहुन्छ and I'm like, you can speak louder. Come on, do it from your gut. Some of them even cry. It is that difficult to process. So that challenge is discomfort ma ल्याउने हो नि त learning process भनेको. So हामीले खास choose गरेको नै त्यस्तो profession भयो कि as soon as you talk about learning, which is not a degree, that is not mandated by society, it is a difficult process. So त्यो human nature हो. But you're right. यो skill तपाईले नदेख्ने भए पनि so much of what I teach it from experience. I wasn't born a trainer. This is not a profession I chose. I experienced all of it. And I often talk about it. मैले scholarship पनि कसरी पाएँ. Interview दिँदाखेरि, if I wasn't good at what I do, no matter how well I did academically, no matter how many sports I played and I was in like an A-team player, it didn't matter if I couldn't do well in an interview. So Singapore ma scholarship, they communication skill le garda paako. So aile jasari bhaye pani uphill battle bhaye pani, I'm glad you are doing it and I'm glad in it as well because the learners that I've at least been able to help and learn together with, jati pani workshops ma aunu bhaeko cha, to watch them just become a more confident person. You're happier when you're confident, even if it's I've trained about 3,000 professionals so far now. Wow. And it is to watch them just feel better. It's transformation. So I'd rather stick with that than give up, but it's changing. Yeah. It is. Yeah. It really is.
After every session, hamro workshop, we take like a testimonial.
I love it. I love the fact that you guys do that.
सबैजनाको फिडब्याक एकदम के मतलब आउनुभन्दा अगाडिको माइन्डसेट र आएर सर्टन आवर्स आफूलाई दिएको टाइम हो नि त त्यो त होइन टु लर्न राइट त्यो दिइसकेपछिको त्यो जुन जोय र त्यो जुन माइन्डसेट चेन्ज अथवा एउटा सिफ्ट हुन्छ नि प्याराडाइम सिफ्ट हुन्छ नि द्याट इज वाट आई फिल इज द भ्याल्यू द्याट आर्ट्स एकाडेमी इज ट्राइङ टु गिभ एन्ड अफकोर्स लाइक हाइभला इज अल्सो ट्राइङ टु गिभ द सेम एन्ड द्याट फिलिङ is our like dopamine
it is our right? Profit margin you're absolutely right. Like recently I just got a message from someone. He said, I got promoted, thank you so much. Like right? Had I not been able to communicate or had you not told me that it's okay to just speak up for myself and put my hands up, I probably wouldn't have. So thank you, Vanessa. What better joy in the world than that? And what you asked me earlier and when we started conversing, you asked me why did I come back, impact panini. What better impact than watching someone just do better in life because you could help them learn what you learned in your life. So what better impact?
Yeah, exactly. Right? Especially मलाई अघि पनि हामीले कुरा गरेका थियौँ नि कि लेभल 1 बाट लेभल 2 जान सजिलो छ क्या किनभने अलिकति मेहनत गऱ्यो भने पुगिन्छ होला क्या बट त्यो लेभल 2 लेभल 3 बाट 4 बाट 5 पुग्नु अथवा टप लेभल म्यानेजमेन्टसम्म पुग्नुको लागि त्यही लेभल अफ स्किल र त्यही लेभल अफ काम एभ्री डे गरेर होइन त पुगिँदैन नि त होइन वाट इज द्याट डिफ्रेन्सिएटिङ एसेट द्याट यु हेभ भनौँ न एक हिसाबले वाट इज द्याट युएसपी द्याट यु क्यान जेनेरेट that can be a communication skill, maybe an additional other skill, other value that तिमीले provide गर्न सक्नुपर्यो नि त. Even if, let's say, if you are a operations level को assistant हो रे हैन, how that person can become operations head is all because of the skills that you acquire through your learning process नि हैन. त्यो चाहिँ एटिट्युडमै आउनु पर्ने रहेछ नि त हैन. Is this something that you also train in your trainings? कि how to भनौँ न एउटा लेभलमा पुगिसकेपछि त्यहाँबाट माथि चाहिँ कसरी जान्छ? Is there any tip particularly that you give?
All right, so when you are looking for a promotion, which is what most people talk about, which is what you're saying, career growth, when you are looking for a promotion, there is only one thing in particular that all companies look for. If you're good at the job, you will stay in the company, but you'll probably be stuck in the same role. If you're good at your job and help other people also be good at their job, which is people management, that's when you start getting promoted. Now, what is people management? It's actually very simple. You cannot manage people unless you can motivate them, encourage them, get them to take you seriously. This is all done through communication skill. So what I learned in my career was, I was thinking, I often went back. I'm a very self-aware person. In my opinion, I actually used to give myself feedback. So be like, okay, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And I went back and I was analyzing my career and I was thinking, why did I get promoted? I'd often ask my bosses too. I'm like, is there a reason why you thought I'd be good for this role? It's the way you manage other people and get them motivated to come together and get a project done. And I was like, okay, but how did I do that? It was communication skill, right? It was getting them to be like, come on, team, we can do it. When you're under a lot of stress, the person who can be like, all right, team, that's fine. We made a mistake now. How can we fix this? The solution-oriented, because you could be a very great technical person, right? But if your team doesn't understand your instructions, if your team doesn't feel motivated to go and execute it, you're not going to be a good manager. So at the end of the day, people management skills, I know, okay? So CEO ko kaam kyo? Most of the, once I got into the C-level roles, most of my day was meetings, team meetings, management meetings, board meetings. That was it. Or meetings with clients. Meetings pretty much consume your entire... What are meetings? Except people management. So meeting the board, I used to think like CEO the CEO just manages the board as well as their team. How do you manage people if you can't motivate, encourage, or give them right instructions? And what does that boil down to? Ekdam simplified communication. It's so funny, but it is actually that simple.
Right? Usually हामीले देख्ने भनेको नि त्यही हो नि त. स्ट्याग्नेन्सी पछि के गर्ने भन्दाखेरि आई थिङ्क द्याट्स द डिरेक्सन द्याट पिपल निड टु टेक. एउटा युट्युबमा पहिलादेखिको भिडियो छ होइन, अन लिडरसिप कि लेभल 1 लिडर, लेभल 2 लिडर भनेको कस्तो भनेर. आई थिङ्क त्यसमा एकदम क्लियरली नै भनेको छ कि इफ यु वान्ट टु गो फ्रम लेभल 2 टु लेभल 3, यु हेभ टु स्टार्ट हेल्पिङ अदर पिपल ग्रो इन द टिम. And only then you'll go to the next level of leadership, right? So त्यही कुरा सिक्नको लागि त लाइक यु क्लियरली सेड कि एउटा लेभल अफ कम्युनिकेसन राम्रो हुनुपर्छ. र नट ओन्ली, एन्ड द्याट इज नट ओन्ली नेपाल जस्तो लाग्छ क्या मलाई चाहिँ. नेपालमा मात्र ग्रो हुनलाई त्यो चाहिने होइन नि त. आइदर यु आर इन युएस or Australia or wherever you are in the world, होइन, if you kind of work on yourself and your skill and your personality and your every level of skill that you would probably need, write it down on a piece of paper and like start working on a day-to-day basis like you would go to a gym. You start like reading every day or watching videos every day. मैले यहाँ टिममा पनि भनिरहन्छु कि what's the last 10 videos that you have watched on YouTube त्यो हिस्ट्री हेर आफैले, and then you will know you're in the right track or not. के You know what I mean? But what are you working on a daily basis is something that you will improve by in time नि त होइन. Just merely taking one day workshop course from, let's say, Ads Academy or Hivelaya is not going to change your life, but at least it'll give you a direction, and you need to work on it every single day if you want to grow in your life.
For sure.
Regardless of your career or country that you're in. Okay? Right? So having said that, अहिलेको टाइममा जुन level of lack of human resources भइरहेछ नि नेपालकै केसमा होइन, I feel like it's the most difficult time that I've had in many years. के होइन, in the 15 years of doing agency business in Nepal, advertising मा अहिलेको जस्तो challenging time चाहिँ I haven't faced, right? Especially in human resource. के right? So what has been your experience with the young generation?
So unfortunately, what has happened is पहिला नेपालबाट बाहिर जाने जनसङ्ख्या या population जुन थियो we used to look at a lot of a large number of labor population going अनि upper middle class पनि गइरहेको थियो बिचको section were still staying here. What has changed now, especially with my recent trip to Australia, मैले के realize गरेँ भने highly skilled people are also going, but majority of people are going. So Australia, Nepal is the 3rd highest country for immigration, which is ridiculous given our population size. So it's China, India, and us, and Nepal.
In Australia, eh?
In Australia.
So Australia is our mama घर भन्नु
absolutely. All of our cousins are there, your family members are there. So that is what is happening. So Nepalमा अहिले के भइरहेछ भने you're talking about the employee rates, like employees पाइरहेको छैन. But honestly speaking, in the next 2 years, if we don't do something about it, user base पनि हुँदैन. So जति पनि companiesहरू आइरहेछ the products we are making, the product consume गर्ने population घटिरहेछ कि अहिले. So the biggest problem I see already happening, the fact that we are 3rd in Australia, the fact that all these other countries are also changing how the immigration policies are changed as in Nepal is we are looking at mass exodus of the skilled labor as well, and across the board, like all these social segments, mass exodus bhairach aile, and that's a problem that we absolutely need to address. Your brain drain matra bhaina ki aba brain drain into 10 bhaisakyo and we just don't realize it.
I have seen someone who has been working in a bank for 10-15 years leaving the country. Somebody in a very like reputed position ma bhako मान्छेहरु पनि देश छोडेर गइरहेछ अहिलेको टाइममा. Not just like young students who wants to go. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Lonely हैन घर जग्गा बेचेर छोडिरहेछ देशलाई. सो यस्तो सिचुएसनमा हामी यहाँ नेपालमा बस्नु हामी मूर्ख हो कि धेरै पेट्रियोटिक भएको हो कि के भएको हैन. कहिलेकाहीँ चाहिँ आई वन्डर यस्तो खालको कुराहरू हैन. तर हैन आई हेभ दिस फिलिङ के हुन्छ हैन. द प्रब्लम अल्सो कम्स विथ अपर्च्युनिटिज नि त हैन. च्यालेन्जेस अल्सो कम्स विथ अपर्च्युनिटिज भन्ने हिसाबले चाहिँ नि इल कम भनेर भनिरहेछ. इट्स गेटिङ डिफिकल्ट बाई द डे, स्पेसली टु फाइन्ड राइट पिपल, स्पेसली के अरे स्किल्ड मान्छेहरू भेटाउन. र के अरे अब क्लाइन्ट्सहरू पनि कस्तो भइदिन्छ भन्दाखेरि अब सबैको बजेट स्ट्रिङ्क डाउन भइरहेछ अहिलेको टाइममा हैन. मान्छे नै छैन,
युजर बेस
नै घटिरहेछ त.
त्यो sorry I interrupted you, but that is what we're not talking about.
Exactly.
We're talking about brain drain. Students got universities खाली भइरहेछ हैन. तर कन्जम्सन गर्ने एज ग्रुप कुन चाहिँ हो? युनिभर्सिटी लेभलकै मान्छेहरू हो नि त खास मेन कन्जम्सन ग्रुप अक्रस इकोनोमिज. हाम्रो त्यो पपुलेसन साइजै घटिरहेछ भने त लेट अलोन पिपल हु क्यान वर्क फर यर कम्पनीज, पिपल हु क्यान कन्ज्युम यर प्रडक्ट्स घटिरहेछ. सो यु एब्सोल्युटली राइट.
त्यत्रो गाडी इम्पोर्ट गरेर चाहिँ बेच्ने चाहिँ कसले त होइन.
एक्ज्याक्टली.
बेच भनेर आफ्नो स्टाफलाई मात्र कराएर त बिग्दैन नि त होइन. त्यसको लागि त किन्ने मान्छे पनि हुनु पऱ्यो. गभर्मेन्ट लेभलबाट पनि त्यही लेभलको इन्भेस्टमेन्ट देशको मान्छेहरूमा हुनु पऱ्यो, अथवा रिसोर्सेसहरूमा हुनु पऱ्यो, अथवा बाहिर जानलाई चाहिँ अलिकति स्ट्रिक्ट गरिदिने हो कि यस्तो इजिली बाहिर जानु नदिने हो कि होइन. केही न केही अब सर्टन क्राइटेरिया सर्टन ट्रेनिङ लिएपछि बाहिर गयो भने पो इमेजिन skilled person going out, how much money he will send back as a remittance होइन. र इमेजिन like lower level ko uneducated labor going and how much money he'll send back. Of course there will be a difference ni हैन. बरु मान्छे पठाउने भए राम्रो अलि हुन्छ नि. यहाँ ब्याङ्कबाट लोन नलिकन गएको मान्छेहरूलाई चाहिँ पठाउनु न, who can actually go and make that impact and send more money जस्तो लाग्छ कि मलाई चाहिँ. That would be like okay. तर नेपालमै के अरे 2 दिन देखाउनलाई भए पनि लोन लिन्छ नि त अहिले. You know what I mean? त्यो ब्याङ्क अकाउन्ट स्टेटमेन्टमा देखाउनु पर्छ भनेर त्यसरी देखाइ पनि गरिरहेको हुन्छ. द्याट इज समथिङ वान अफ द मेन रिजन्स वाइ आई डिडन्ट गो एज वेल होइन. स्कलरसिप नै पाउने खालको स्टुडेन्ट त थिएन म होइन. सो आई डोन्ट वान्ट टु बी द्याट बर्डन.
What you've built in the past 15 years, I would beg to differ.
अब I wouldn't imagine myself doing this in last 15 years होइन. तर गर्दा भएको हो खास चाहिँ. तर जुन टाइममा अब जाने हुन्छ नि एउटा आइडियल एज, त्यति बेला नगएको पनि आई डोन्ट वान्ट टु लाइक टेक लोन एन्ड बी द बर्डन. त्यो लोन लिई चाहिँ छोड्नु जानु मन छैन कि. अनि अहिले पनि म भनिरहेको हुन्छु कि म के अरे जिन्दगीभर त बच्चैदेखि त अब के अरे आफ्नो पेरेन्ट्सहरूमा एक हिसाबले त इन्भेस्टै गरेर हुन्छ प्यारेन्ट्सले होइन अनि एट द टाइम वेन प्यारेन्ट्स स्टार्ट टु एक्सपेक्ट यु टु सोर्ट अफ अब त आफ्नो खुट्टामा उभिउ न भन्ने टाइपको त्यही टाइममा फेरि लोन लिएर फेरि प्यारेन्ट्सकै प्रपर्टीलाई के भन्छ मोर्गेज राखेर फेरि बाहिर जानु चाहिँ अलिकति बरु स्कलरसिप लिएर जाउँ न होइन बरु त्यो लेभलको चाहिँ हुन्छ होइन आई थिङ्क त्यो टाइममा भनौँ न आई थिङ्क अबाउट 2005 देखि 2011-12सम्म चाहिँ नि आई अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड त्यति बेलाको सिचुएसन छ होइन अहिलेको टाइममा भने मैले चाहिँ अहिले पहिला जस्तो इन्फर्मेसनको एक्सेस पहिला एमएसएनको जमाना होइन नि त अहिले त त्यति बेला जस्तो हामी आइसोलेटेड थिएन नि त अहिले त नलेज बेस त जहाँ बसेर जसरी पनि लिनु मिल्ने जमाना हो नि त अहिलेको टाइममा चाहिँ त्यसरी नगरोस् जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ व्हाट डु यु थिङ्क अबाउट that?
No, so there are two issues, right, based on everything that you said. Number one issue is तपाईलाई थाहा छ विदेशमा लाइफ कति डिफिकल्ट छ जुन आइफोन तपाईँले युज गरिरहनु भएको छ त्यो पक्कै पनि तपाईँको दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनीहरूले कन्ट्र्याक्टमा लिएको हो सो 2 yearsको कन्ट्र्याक्ट हुन्छ द्याट्स हाउ यु गेट अ फोन द्याट कन्ट्र्याक्ट costs you at least $60 to $80 easy a month. That's $60 to $80 that they have to add on to paying their tuition fees, paying off the loan. So for that, you would have to work at least 3 jobs at any given time, given the minimum wage. So बाहिर गएर एउटा छ तपाईले financial pressure अर्को भनेको loneliness. You are so ridiculously lonely. It's a new epidemic. So मेरो अहिलेसम्म viral भएको videos भनेको mostly when I talk about why did I come back, Nepal फर्किने कि नाइ अनि loneliness epidemic भनेको that crossed around 500,000 views across platforms. But that just goes to tell you how much people are resonating with that message. Because it is lonely. All you do, get up, work, come back home, sleep. Get up, work. Is that the life that you want, that you're signing up for? It might look rosy यहाँ बसेर खतरा गाडी चढिरहेछ त्यो कति मेहनत छ पछाडि and I was just talking घरमा स्विमिङ पुल बनाएर if you cannot have time to swim, is that the life that you want? एउटा त्यो होइन तर when people ask me ma'am फर्किनु मन छ म के गर्ने like what you were saying यो स्कलरसिपहरूको एक्सेस छ तर गइसकेको मान्छेहरूलाई पनि यहाँ भएको मान्छेहरूलाई कसरी यहाँ रिटेन गर्ने र गइसकेको मान्छेलाई कसरी फिर्ता ल्याउने हामीले अपर्च्युनिटिज देखाउनु पऱ्यो नि सो आम नट गोना रिलाइ अन द गभर्मेन्ट एनिमोर इट इज बियोन्ड आवर कन्ट्रोल आई वान्ट टु डु समथिङ अबाउट इट सो यो सेप्टेम्बरमा विच यु एन्ड आई हेभ टक्ड अबाउट आई वान्ट टु आन्सर द क्वेसन नेपालमा फ्युचर छ question mark. So the whole event is going to be a question mark.
Wow.
But the idea of the event is to answer that question. So I'm not going to sit in another podcast or another conversation and talk about brain drain and hey kosto garo cha kinaki my inbox is flooded with people who want answers and I don't know where to redirect them. So abo ke garna la cha this event is called Nepalma Future cha happening in September. We're going to answer your question. त्यसपछि Hivelaya we're going to build an information hub which is exactly what you said. पढाइ काम गरेको मान्छेले खास स्कलरसिप पाउन सजिलो हुन्छ कि बाहिर पनि सो इफ यु वर्क फर अ फ्यु इयर्स द्याट्स हाउ आई गट अ स्कलरसिप आई वर्क फर अ फ्यु इयर्स स्पेसली मास्टर्सको लागि चाहिँ 8 वर्षको एक्सपिरियन्स भइसकेपछि दे स द रोल्स द्याट आई डिड द्याट्स वान अफ द रिजन्स वाइ आई गट द स्कलरसिप सो हाउ डु यु गेट एक्सेस टु इन्फर्मेसन लाइक दिस काम कहाँ पाउने कस्तो छ अपर्च्युनिटिज त्यो क्वेसनको जवाब दिनु पऱ्यो सो वाट वी आर डुइङ एट हाइभलया इज वी आर बिल्डिङ एन इन्फर्मेसन हब नेपालमा अपर्च्युनिटिज छ त कहाँ छ स्यालेरी रेन्ज कति छ किन बस्नु पऱ्यो इकोनोमीको डेटा कहाँ छ भनेर द्याट्स वाट हाइभलया इज गोइङ टु आन्सर सो नाउ आई एम नट गोइङ टु टक अबाउट द प्रब्लम एनिमोर आई एम गोइङ टु हेल्प यु फाइन्ड आन्सर्स एन्ड आई एम रिलाइङ अन पार्टनर्स लाइक yourself who've done what you've done here. You've created your own opportunities and make it accessible to more people.
So Nepalma future cha is the event. Nepalma future cha is the answer, right? The both are questions and answer at the same time.
Answer.
Pretty interesting. September ma huna lageko cha yo event and we are trying to sort of create this environment where people can come and see the potential that Nepal has and they can at least see themselves in the future in Nepal rather than going abroad is what we are trying to create. Right?
Yes, absolutely. यस्तो छ opportunities, vacancies छ भनेर हामी सबैलाई थाहा छ. There are, oh my god, if you look for job portals in Nepal, Googleको first 5 pages is populated by companies you've never heard of. Jobs Nepal jobs, jobs in hospitality, यो सबै छ. Jobs छ भनेर हामी सबैलाई थाहा छ हैन. हामीले भन्ने के हो हामीले पाइ नै रहेको छैन यो jobs. एउटा त salary transparency छैन. जुन jobsहरू छ हामीले पोसिबली त्यसमा अप्लाई पनि गरिरहेको छैनौँ अप्लाई गऱ्यो भने पनि यस्तो अप्लाई थिचेर गरिरहेछौँ स्यालेरी ट्रान्सपेरेन्सी नभएर हामीलाई मोटिभेसन एकदम कम छ बिकज वाइ डु यु वर्क to earn money so you can afford the lifestyle that you want. So एउटा salary transparency छैन which is what I want to solve now. अनि अर्को भनेको त्यहाँ काम गर्दा कस्तो हुन्छ कल्चर कस्तो छ त्यो कम्पनीमा लाइक
सबै कम्पनीहरूले आफ्नो वर्किङ कल्चर त डकुमेन्ट गराए हुँदैन
सो द्याट्स वाट वी वान्ट टु डु सो नेपालमा फ्युचर छ भन्ने प्रश्नको उत्तर दिने हो भने स्यालेरीको कुरा गर्नु पऱ्यो त्यो कम्पनीमा काम गर्दा कस्तो हुन्छ मेरो ग्रोथ हुन्छ म खुसी हुन्छु मेरो स्यालेरी टाइममा आउँछ यो यही प्रश्नहरूको जवाब दिने सो दिस इभेन्ट इज नट अनदर कन्क्लेभ इट्स नट अनदर समिट इट्स नट अनदर प्यानल डिस्कसन इट इज एन इभेन्ट वेयर सेक्टर्स आर रिप्रेजेन्टेड 4वटा सेक्टर आर रिप्रेजेन्टेड अनि सेक्टरमा काम गर्ने कल्चर स्यालेरी रेन्जेस त्यसको ट्रान्सपेरेन्सी दिएर त्यसपछि त्यो इन्फर्मेसन हब सो एक दिनको इभेन्टले केही पनि फरक पार्दैन आई अग्री द इभेन्ट इज अ लन्च प्याड बट वाट यु से भेकेन्सिज छ थाहा छ तपाईँलाई स्यालेरी कति हो त्यसको जवाब चाहिँ अन हाइभलाया आफ्टर दिस इभेन्ट विल बी अभाइलेबल on our website now.
अनि त्यो भेकेन्सिजहरुमा अप्लाई गर्नको लागि चाहिने स्किल पनि हाइभले दिन्छ नि त फेरि
Absolutely, and so does Ads Academy. Hivelaya focuses on very few skills. Because I want to make sure that it's मैले नै experience गरेर is it real time or not? Like मेरो जुन चाहिँ recently I went to Australia for work as well. I did a workshop for an Australian company. It is so human, these skills. Exactly what you said. Maile sikaune skills is not just relevant to Nepal. The communication workshop that I did in Australia, I didn't change the content at all. The PowerPoint presentations in maile gareko, every single text is exactly the same. What that tells you is, and I got paid for that workshop, right? So what that tells you is communication skills in sikainsa to universal ho bhanera. That's what it proved to me in real time. But examples are different. The scenarios that I talk about, they're slightly different, culturally appropriate and relevant. But it is universal. So the skills that we teach and also what Ads Academy does is, my aim is to give you quality partners on that. So everything on Hivelaya now will be vetted. So you can trust me when I put it there that we've done enough research and we trust these companies that we partner with. And तपाईलाई त्यही त छैन नि हैन यति धेरै options छ हैन now we're just lost. Which is a platform that you can go to where you're like यहाँ छ भन्ने चाहिँ I can trust it. Like marketing को पनि त त्यही हो नि यति ठाउँमा niche marketing गर्ने ठाउँ कहाँ छ employer branding गर्ने ठाउँ कहाँ छ अनि trustworthy पोर्टल्सहरु कहाँ छ भन्ने छैन द्याट्स व्हाट आई वान्ट टु क्रिएट नाउ
इम्प्लोयर ब्रान्डिङ गर्ने ठाउँ छैन र इम्प्लोयरहरूले आफैले पनि आफ्नो कम्पनीको इम्प्लोयर लेभल ब्रान्डिङ गरिरहेको छैन द ओन्ली प्लेटफर्म्स आई फिल द्याट companies have right now is some of the companies who have been here in HR industry for a very long time, be it let's say Mero Job hola ani there's another I forgot the name. They're just the events or HR events or bhayira huncha ni haina. So growth sellers unharle pani event haru gariraeko huncha. I don't know if other companies are doing just Kumari job bhanera cha ke are haina. So all these company harule vacancy announce jab garcha त्यहाँ लोगो एउटा देखाउने र आफ्नो लोगो प्रोफाइल देखाउने बाहेक there is nothing else as a employer level branding नि त in a way.
That is not employer branding at all. That is you couldn't even call that employer
exactly
branding.
So employer level branding गर्नको लागि अर्को एउटा प्लेटफर्म भनेको LinkedIn पनि हो right.
Absolutely.
तर LinkedIn मा पनि अब there are very few companies who are regularly posting अब भित्र के भइरहेछ कुनै इभेन्ट भइरहेछ कुनै आई डोन्ट नो बर्थडे सेलिब्रेसन भइरहेछ कुनै अचिभमेन्ट भयो यही कुराले इन्स्पायर गर्नुहुन्थ्यो अनि कोही पनि मान्छेले त्यो कम्पनीमा अप्लाई गरौँ न भनेर सो अहिलेको टाइममा लिङ्क्डइन चाहिँ एकदम फर सम गुड रिजन्स होइन लिङ्क्डइन चाहिँ नेपालमा राम्रो भइरहेछ के मान्छेहरूले आफ्नो प्रोफाइल बिल्डिङ चाहिँ गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ आफ्नो पर्सनल ब्रान्डिङ गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ अलिअलि इन सम वे अर दि अदर कतै कतै सुनेर बिस्तारै बिस्तारै बढिरहेको छ अनि अभियसली इट हेज अ लट अफ अपर्च्युनिटिज द्याट कम्स विथ इट होइन सिमिलरली एउटा थर्ड पार्टी कम्पनीले लाइक यु सेड अलिकति क्युरेटेड इन्फर्मेसन अलिकति गएर भित्र इम्प्लोइजहरूसँग कुरा गरेर उहाँहरूको एक्सपिरियन्स लेट्स से अ कम्पनी हेज अ भेरी गुड वर्किङ इन्भाइरोमेन्ट एन्ड कल्चर राम्रो छ तर मेबी पिपल डोन्ट नो मेबी जस्ट पिपल जज देम बाई देयर अदर एस्पेक्ट्स अफ ब्रान्ड बिल्डिङ होइन मेबी दे आर नट एज फोकस्ड इन ब्रान्ड बिल्डिङ कुनै कुनै कम्पनी हुन्छ नि जसको काम नै अब अलिकति B2B धेरै भयो भने धेरै मार्केट गर्दैन नि आफूलाई होइन तर दे हेभ टु बी सिन इन यस्तो खालको वेबसाइट्सहरू यस्तो खालको भनौँ न सेटिङ्समा त उनीहरूलाई अपर्च्युनिटी त चाहिन्छ बिकज दे अल्सो निड गुड इम्प्लोइज नो होइन एन्ड गुड इम्प्लोइज विल अलवेज गो टु गुड कम्पनीज नि त होइन होइन मिन यसो खोजेर जुनमा चाहिँ सबैभन्दा मतलब केही इन्फर्मेसनै छैन केही पनि नै छैन लिङ्कडिनमा पनि प्रेजेन्स छैन कोही पनि छैन त्यहाँ राम्रो इम्प्लोइले किन अप्लाई गरोस् त अहिलेको टाइममा सो त्यो इम्प्लोयर लेभल ब्रान्डिङ इज सो इम्पोर्टेन्ट एन्ड आई थिङ्क अ लट अफ कम्पनीज लाइक बिग कम्पनीज आर अल्सो मिसिङ आउट अन द्याट अपर्च्युनिटी बाई नट ब्रान्डिङ देयर के अरे कम्पनी in these kind of platforms. Okay? The only opportunity, like you said, the only place that they have to brand themselves is मेरो job. Okay? अनि अर्को HR इभेन्ट्सहरूमा मात्रै के होइन अनि अरू ठाउँमा के अरे B2C वाला इभेन्ट्सहरूमा गएर उनीहरूलाई कामै छैन कि होइन जबै खोजेर आउने मान्छेहरू आउने इभेन्ट हो नि त यो त नेपालमा फ्युचर छ इज जबमा नै भएको मान्छेले अरू के छ त अरू कुन कुन कम्पनीले जब दिन खोजिरहेछ अनि कस्तो मान्छे खोजिरहेछ त कति स्यालेरी दिन्छु भनेर भनिरहेछ भन्ने खालको अपर्च्युनिटी छ नि त यसमा कम्पनीको लागि नै अपर्च्युनिटी छ प्लस इम्प्लोइजहरूको लागि पनि अपर्च्युनिटी छ हु वान्ट्स टु सिफ्ट देयर करियर फ्रम टेक देयर करियर टु नेक्स्ट लेभल भनौँ न एक हिसाबले राइट
I just wanted to add, employer branding solves two problems for you. And every meeting that I go to now, I'm explaining it. So, dear HR leaders and leaders of organizations, here are two problems you solve with employer branding. Number one, exactly like you said, तपाईको brand ambassador को सबभन्दा पहिला तपाईको employees, people who work for your company are your brand ambassadors, that sales person that you've hired. उहाँले जब फोन आन्सर तपाईँ करोडौँ खर्च गर्नुहोस् न मार्केटिङमा फोन उठाएर उहाँले राम्रोसँग कुरा गर्न सकेन भने इफ यु डोन्ट हेभ द राइट पिपल फर द जब्स विल योर कम्पनी डु वेल डजन्ट म्याटर इट वोन्ट सेल सो नम्बर वान इम्प्लोयर ब्रान्डिङ किन गर्नु पर्यो तपाईँले So you get right people, exactly like you said. If you want to attract right people, you can't just post one vacancy ad and expect smart people to be excited by it. They won't. They need to know what it's like working there. Will you pay on time? Will it be fun to work there? Do you provide food? What are the perks? What are the incentives? Number one. Number two, a lot of things I hear, like HR leaders are भन्ने resume त आउँछ प्रणयना जी मान्छेहरू पनि आउँछन् तर काम गरेको एक हप्तामा गइदिन्छन् टर्नओभर एकदम हाई छ ब्रेन ड्रेन हो तर तपाईँले रियलिस्टिक एक्सपेक्टेसन सेट नगरिदिएपछि मान्छेको दिमागमा आफ्नै धारणा हुन्छ उहाँले जे सुन्नुहुन्छ अज्युम गर्नुहुन्छ वेन यु लिभ इट टु अजम्सन इट विल नेभर मिट एक्सपेक्टेसन्स तपाईँले जब इम्प्लोयर ब्रान्डिङ गर्नुहुन्छ जो मान्छेले अप्लाई गर्छ र साँच्चीकै काम लिन्छ उहाँ दे अलरेडी प्रिपेयर्ड द्याट अफिसमा लन्च हुँदैन दे अलरेडी प्रिपेयर्ड द्याट ओके यस्तो पर्क्स आउँछ त्यो प्रिपरेसनले जब तपाईँलाई क्यान्डिडेट when they apply and they work, tapaiko turnover, it'll affect, it'll go down. Tyo baik, you'll also get good people and the right people for your organization. You save so much money in hiring. Hiring costs are actually very high here. Nepal, they're very high compared to different parts of the world. This is why, because they're not thinking about employer branding and thought leadership pani sochdaina, which is something म जुन चाहिँ इन्डियामा कन्सल्टिङ फर्ममा काम गर्थेँ one of the most important and the most popular products for that consulting firm was thought leadership. Thought leadership भनेको तपाईँ industry leader हो भने कसरी why do you do that? So thought leadership to employer branding is extremely important and that's the problem we're fixing now with Hivelaya.
Let's get a little bit into thought leadership. छोइहाल्यो अब गइदिहाल्यो अलिकति एक्सप्लेन गरिदेऊ न थट लिडरसिपको बारेमा why it is so important for to have like thought leaders.
So thought leadership भनेको के भन्दाखेरि तपाईले कम्पनीजमा when we talk about automation, innovation, we have the best people, we have the best product. That is basically thought leadership where you're saying how you are a leader when it comes to a thinking process about a certain product or service in that industry. What that does, thought leadership ले खास के गर्छ कन्ज्युमर किनकि कन्ज्युमर भनेको हाम्रो सामान किन्ने मान्छे मात्र हैन त कुनै पनि संस्थाले बैंकसँग पार्टनरशिप गर्नु पर्दैन तपाईको पार्टनरशिप कति मोडालिटिजमा हुन्छ When I used to work for Daraz, who were our partners? They were sellers. They were not just people who buy products. Sellers हुनुहुन्थ्यो banking partners चाहिन्थ्यो हाम्रो all these commercial products that we used to do giveaways हुन्थ्यो aren't they all your partners? So thought leadership ले के गर्छ भने किनकि मार्केटिङ सोच्नु भयो भने कन्ज्युमरले प्रडक्ट बेच्ने मात्र हैन नि त कन्ज्युमरले प्रडक्ट किन्ने मात्र हैन इन्भेस्टर्स चाहिन्छ so if you're a startup so many startups are looking for investment thought leadership छैन भने why will the investor be excited to invest on you as a founder but also in the vision that you have Oily, what are the startups that are doing well? They're not product-based startups. A lot of them are tech-based startups, vision-based startups. Or it's hanita. Tyo thought leadership, what that does, it puts your USP and value proposition ahead of the curve. So partnership जुन चाहिँ चाहिन्छ business sustainability को लागि त्यसलाई attract गर्न, retain गर्न, that's important. So अहिले if I talk to business, so startups मात्र हैन, business leaders हरुसँग कुरा गर्दाखेरि, if you want to get more investment, get international exposure, think about growth and international clients. Australian clients, which is what I've worked with a lot of Australian clients, they care about thought leadership. जुन चाहिँ content हामीले post गर्छौं. So for me, I recently attained an Australian client. He saw one of my reels. What that reel was talking about was how I do branding. What is that? That's actually thought leadership. Marketing, but a thought leadership. They trusted me and my process enough to be like, all right, I would want to work with you. So that, long story short, that's what thought leadership, and that is one of the biggest marketing strategies around the world.
Exactly. I mean, not just the founder, okay? But the top level management को मान्छेहरूले पनि आफ्नो vision towards where the company is going, what do they think about the industry, what is the future like going to be, what are the problems, what are the challenges, what are we looking for. There's so many things that they can talk about. No, हरेक कम्पनीले एउटा सानो क्लिपै बनाएर किन्न नहोस्, मोबाइलबाटै बनाएर किन्न नहोस्, डजन्ट ह्याभ टु बी अ बिग प्रोडक्सन अल्सो. नो, त्यही मात्र राम्रोसँग राख्नु पायो भने पनि, लिङ्क्डइनमै राख्नु पायो भने पनि, आई थिङ्क they will attract more better quality people, not just from Nepal but from abroad as well. Okay, बाहिर पनि त इन्डियामा पनि मान्छेहरू छन् जसलाई राम्रो अपर्च्युनिटी छ. त्यहाँ त झन् लाइक कटथ्रोट कम्पिटिसन छ. बरु नेपालमा आयो भने राम्रो गर्न सक्ने पोटेन्सियल भएको इन्डियाबाट नै हामीले हायर गर्न सक्यो भने त इभन बेटर. नो, रादर देन ह्याभिङ मिडियोकर लेभल टिम. your company is only good as your team, no?
Absolutely.
So
for sure.
So to get that A team in, we are relying on just posting it on our LinkedIn, on our Facebook, on our Facebook stories, and there is no third party company to validate that you are a legit company with like certain corporate culture that you need to have, or certain type of I don't know, friendly environment, blah blah blah, stars haru dine third party afle the 5 star dihalcha ni jसले नि हैन. I can put like 5 stars in every aspect on LinkedIn if I'm showing, हैन. तर if there's a third party company coming in, helping and giving, एउटा किसिमको रेटिङ, त्यो एउटा रेटिङ पाउनु पनि राम्रो हो नि त. मतलब I'm also working towards like having ISO certified and all, के मतलब process driven company हो भने देखाउनलाई पनि काम लाग्छ नि त.
What's the point of that? Because consumer को level बाट सोच्ने हो भने, do they care? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
But what does that ISO certification, what do these तपाईं जुन चाहिँ conferences मा जानुहुन्छ, your organizations are joining, what is that actually doing? Your PRO, but it's for thought leadership. And something that you said, I just wanted to add to that. My question to HR heads, bosses, CEOs, MDs, तपाईले एउटा vacancy post गरेर तपाईले apply गर्नुहुन्थ्यो? हुँदैन थियो नि. So why would you expect someone incredible, तपाईको vision जसरी मेरो टिममा यस्तो मान्छे चाहियो, तपाईले apply गर्नु हुँदैन थियो भने एउटा vacancy post देखेर उहाँले किन apply गर्ने? So exactly what you said. तपाईले जबसम्म story देखाउनु हुँदैन आफ्नो, तपाईले यहाँ नेपालमा कसरी हायर गर्छ अहिले पनि, तपाईले कोही चिन्नु भएको छ, तपाईको नेटवर्कमा कोही छ, is that the most efficient way to hire or most efficient use of your time? Absolutely not. So एउटा पोस्ट राम्रैसँग गरेर स्टोरी टेलिङको प्रोसेसबाट, if we can do proper employer branding and you can reach, like you said, across the borders, thousands of people, why are you not doing it? But that is, I'm not going to ask you why, I'm also going to show you how now, which is what we solve. So we'll answer the how, but my question is, how many of you are going to do it?
Hopefully many.
I mean, if you're visionaries and if you want best for your organization, absolutely.
I think Nepalma future cha event is going to happen.
Nepal future cha. Yeah, every household, every दाजुभाइ दिदी भने Nepal future cha. त्यही हो question. एकदम छिटो भनेर.
Sad reality चाहिँ नि नेपालमा फ्युचर छैन जस्तो फिल भइरहेछ धेरै जसलाई. No wonder people are leaving, हैन. अनि एटलिस्ट यो इभेन्ट एटेन्ड गरेर जाऊ
हामीलाई एउटा मौका दिनुहोस्
एउटा मौका दिनुहोस् अनि सी इफ एक्चुअली नेपालमा फ्युचर छ छैन त्यो इभेन्टमा देखिन्छ होला सायद राइट लेट्स जस्ट गेट इन्टु द इभेन्ट अलिकति वाट आर द थिङ्स द्याट पिपल क्यान एक्सपिरियन्स इन द इभेन्ट सो द्याट हामीले यही चिजको क्लिपहरू काटेर पछि प्रमोट पनि गर्न मिलोस् किनभने फेरि रिसुट गर्न नमिलोस् सो
मार्केटिङ माइन्ड
सो के अरे नेपालमा फ्युचर छ इभेन्टमा चाहिँ के कुराहरू पिपल क्यान एक्सपिरियन्स
So Nepalma Future छ भन्ने event which is happening on September 6th. Now I won't be able to change the date. Locked in. September 6th, man, say it's a ticketed event. We are targeting professionals. Professionals like yourself who are serious about your career, who have big dreams. But what we are trying to show you is it's possible in Nepal. So तपाईँ प्रोफेसनल हुनुहुन्छ काम गरिरहनु भएको छ 1-2 वर्षको हेड लेभलको सी लेभलको मान्छेहरू you're thinking what next for my career because I often talk about it धेरै इभेन्ट्सहरू भइरहेछ तर हामी जस्तो प्रोफेसनल्सलाई टार्गेटेड चाहिँ अलिकति भएन जबकि अहिलेको माइग्रेसन यही पपुलेसन सेगमेन्टमा भइरहेछ सो नेपालमा फ्युचर 6मा there are 4 in sectors that we will represent हरेक सेक्टरबाट we have 5 companies 5 leading companies within that sector. We have hospitality, banking, technology. So we have all of these industries. So we have 20 companies that will be represented who are doing really well, that are vetted by us. So we're not taking all the companies at the moment, leading companies. So we have digital booths where at this event, you will be able to see त्यहाँको salary range कस्तो खालीको vacancies छ त्यहाँ त्यो सेक्टरमा कतिको ग्रोथ भइरहेछ बिकज इफ यु आस्क अ लट अफ पिपल रिटेलमा काम गर्ने इट्सुक कतिजना हुनुहुन्छ टेक्नोलोजीमा हो ब्याङ्किङमा पनि हो तर हस्पिटालिटी इज बुमिङ देयर आर सो मेनी 5-star hotels coming up but do you want to work for hospitality No, so that's what we are going to answer for you. Why not? So यो चारवटा सेक्टरको salary information त्यो इन्डस्ट्रीमा के भइरहेछ त्यो इन्फर्मेसन हुन्छ यो इभेन्टमा and then and where what we also have is we'll have panels and workshops happening as well. So workshops भनेको career anxiety भइरहेछ तपाईलाई what next भनेर so यस्तो चिजहरूलाई कसरी डिल गर्ने अनि career coachesहरू पनि हुनुहुन्छ त्यहाँ so यो ticketed event भए पनि you will actually get a lot of benefit and a lot of information and a lot of answers हरू भन्दा नि नेपालमा फ्युचर छ इभेन्टको नामै हो अनि हाम्रो उद्देश्य नै तपाईँको यो प्रश्नको जवाब दिने हो तर त्यसपछि चाहिँ थ्रु आउट द इयर अन हाइभलाया फ्युचर छ भन्ने एउटा सेक्सन हुन्छ जहाँ तपाईँले यु विल फाइन्ड इन्फर्मेसन इन डिटेल अबाउट स्यालेरी रेन्जेस अबाउट वर्किङ कल्चर त्यो सेक्टरमा कस्तो ग्रोथ भइरहेछ नेपालमा डेटा पनि छैन नि त सो त्यो वर्षभरि चाहिँ हाइभलायाकै पेजमा यो इभेन्टको दिनदेखि सुरु हुने तर अन द पेज यु विल फाइन्ड आन्सर्स टु अल अफ दिस क्वेसन्स
Also, the companies who will be partnering with you will have their own sections where they can do their employer level branding with all these information, industry level information भयो अथवा vacancy information भयो अथवा company culture related आफ्नो thoughtsहरू vision भन्छ नि just to attract these kind of good talent that there are जसले त्यो ठ्याक्क त्यो कनेक्सन नपाएर अथवा फ्युचर नदेखेर चाहिँ बाहिर जाने हो नि त सो आई थिङ्क त्यो फ्युचर देखाउने त्यो दिनको इभेन्टमा मैले बुझेअनुसार द वे युआर सेइङ इट इज इट्स अ टिकेटेड इभेन्ट पिपल कम इन एन्ड देन दे गेट टु एक्सपिरियन्स अल दिज डिजिटल बुथ्स वेयर देयर विल बी रिप्रेजेन्टेटिभ अफ दिज companies as well. Plus there's going to be sort of a showcasing of like other things, right?
So panels and so
maybe like speakers around they'll talk about their company and whatnot. Also there's going to be a small sections where there will be like small trainings happening or sessions right? So you can go to like different sessions to it's like in a way it's like a mela where you get to learn. You know what I mean?
But it's a mela like you've never seen before.
Right? So let's say in one room there's some other training happening, in another room there's some other training happening. Everybody know the dinbhariko schedule, kun time ma kun kasko training huna लागेको छ. Maybe there's a panel discussion happening in some just like जुन कुरामा इन्ट्रेस्ट छ, जुन इन्डस्ट्रीमा इन्ट्रेस्टेड छ, उनीहरू त्यहाँ भित्र छिरेर गर्नु पर्यो.
दुईटा मात्र हुन्छ एट अ टाइम. I want to set expectations straight. एउटा वर्कशप र एउटा प्यानल.
So this is my imagination. I can take it anywhere.
Realistic बनाइदिउँ. एउटा वर्कशप र panels will happen at the same time and workshops will be catered to different levels of professionals.
No. I think there should be like a little more trainings happening at the same time.
Next year.
त्यही धेरै मान्छे नआउला is your expectation?
I know. It's not about people. I want to make sure बरु कम गर्ने रियलिस्टिक गर्ने तर राम्रोसँग गर्ने बिकज दिस इज द फर्स्ट इयर आई एम डुइङ इट आई वान्ट टु मेक श्योर इट्स भेरी क्वालिटी कन्ट्रोल्ड मेरो ब्रान्ड पनि छ द पिपल हु ट्रस्ट मी द फ्यु द्याट डु आई वान्ट टु मेक श्योर द्याट आई लिभ अप टु यर एक्सपेक्टेसन्स सो बरु कम गर्ने राम्रोसँग गर्ने अनि वी किप बिल्डिङ अन इट सो मलाई त्यो
तर द थिङ्स आई सेड है त्यो दामी
I would definitely think about it and see if I can
एकदम के सब ठाउँमा सबै भइरहेछ कि कतै कहाँ ट्रेनिङ भइरहेछ कतै कहाँ एकदम धेरै मान्छे आउनुपर्छ त्यसको लागि चाहिँ तर इट वन्ट बी लाइक अलिअलि मान्छे आएर पुग्दैन त्यसमा
हजुर त्यही तर मलाई यो वर्षको उद्देश्य चाहिँ के छ भने द पिपल द्याट आइ एम इन्भाइटिङ टु दिस इभेन्ट नेपालमा फ्युचर छ अन September 6th आर पिपल हु आर अलरेडी वर्किङ who already understand a little bit of the working culture. 1-2 वर्ष काम भइसक्यो पनि इन्टर्न्स कतिजनाले गर्नु भएको छ नि त्यो एक्सपेक्टेसन सेट भइसक्यो मान्छे अब के गर्ने त नेपालमा बस्ने यहाँ काम कस्तो छ अनि मैले के कसलाई स्पेसिफिकली टार्गेट गरेँ भन्दा नि हेड्सहरूलाई म्यानेजर्सहरूलाई पिपल हु आर अलरेडी वर्किङ मिड लेभल अफ यर करियर तर यु फिल लस्ट बिकज द्याट इज ह्यापनिङ अहिले people are more lost after having worked here for a few years. Like you mentioned, professors गइरहनु भएको छ सो स्किल लेबर तपाईँलाई प्रश्न छ कहाँ गरौँ के
स्टुडेन्ट त गइरहेछ टिचर पनि गइदिरहेछ
एक्ज्याक्टली सो उहाँहरूलाई नै टार्गेट गरेर दिस इभेन्ट इज फर देम
अब के गर्ने स्याड रियालिटी अफ नेपाल बट येट
like you said, problems do create opportunities and this is an opportunity for us to show किनकि यो बाहेक अर्को केही प्रब्लम छ भन्दाखेरि बिजनेसेसहरूलाई होइन a lot of businesses here, how do you grow? You can't grow without extra investment, you cannot grow without expanding your network. यो धेरै इन्टरनेसनल कन्फरेन्सेसमा जाने जो बिजनेस पिपलहरू हुनुहुन्छ why do you go? To expand, right? But नेपालको प्रब्लम के छ भन्दा डेटा अभाइलेबल छैन कि So if you have extra money and you're like, okay, I want to invest, what will you do? You'll call your friends. But can you Google and search what are the sectors that are booming in Nepal and what is the size of the economy or how much money is moving around in that market? We have no idea. We can start with something as simple as salary ranges. तर international companies र FDI को यत्रो कुरा गर्छौँ होइन हामीले तर त्यो डेटा कहाँ छ? Why will an international company be interested in investing in Nepal जबकि we have no idea? So what I want to do with Hivelaya Information Hub is at least with the companies that we work with, 5 leading companies in that sector, यो 5 companies बाट data लिएर averages निकालेर aggregated data पनि available गराउने. So you're not just thinking about employees, you're thinking about growth in company पनि त grow हुनु पर्यो. You can't do that without employer branding and thought leadership, and what that will also attract is right investors and growth from international markets as well.
It's not only beneficial for the people, job seekers, but also to the companies in many different ways. Not like soche भन्दा नि धेरै benefit हुने भयो. Not just having a mere page in a website.
Because data is power today. Without data, it's very difficult to grow. And to be honest, there are so many companies in Nepal that are doing such brilliant job with data keeping. I'll give an example of a company. I mean, I worked with Big Mart for a certain amount of, and I am incredibly impressed by the way they work with data, how operationally efficient this company is. But I'd like to tell stories like that. And the data is beneficial for so many people. But how do we leverage that without breaching, of course, the non-disclosure agreements? But how can we put aggregate data available, like you said, the impact तपाईँले सोच्ने भएको छैन कि the power of data. And in Nepal, one of the biggest drawbacks we have in the economy is lack of data, which hopefully we can solve to a certain extent.
एउटा डेटा चाहिँ थाहा छ मलाई
हजुर
दिनको 2000 मान्छे बाहिर गइरहेछ भन्ने डेटा छ
तर त्यो पनि चेन्जै भएको छैन त्यो डेटा त्यसरी निकालेको 2 वर्ष भइसक्यो आई वाज ट्राइङ टु सी होइन त्यो 2000 मा पनि सेगमेन्ट कस्तो छ बिकज समवन रिसेन्टली आस्क्ड मी because I was saying अहिले एकदम स्किल्ड माइग्रेसनको एक्सोडस भइरहेछ and they were like, do you have data? That was what I was saying. I was like, where is the data? Like 2000 भनेको 2 वर्ष अलमोस्ट भइसक्यो त्यही 2000 मा अड्किरहेछ कि
I'm sure there is. त्यो हेर्नु त मिल्न त हैन तर तर लाइक आई सेड अघि होइन मैले प्रब्लमको मात्रै कुरा गरेर जस्तो लाग्छ तर आई एम टकिङ अबाउट प्रब्लम बिकज आई वान्ट सल्युसन फर द्याट लाइक एभ्रिबडी एल्स के होइन ranting about problems is not going to solve it, and we are really trying to do something about solving this problem so that people take Nepal as Nepal ma basnu is more important than going abroad, होइन फर्स्ट अफ अल त अनि कम्पनीजहरूलाई पनि के अरे देशलाई पनि इकोनोमी ग्रो गराउनु मन छ तर देशको इकोनोमी ग्रो कसरी हुन्छ त इन अ वे कन्ज्युमर्स बढ्यो भने हो नि त कन्ज्युमरलाई नै बाहिर बढाएर देश ग्रो हुन्छ भनेर सोचेर त इट्स नट मेकिङ सेन्स टु मी इन एनी लेभल क्या why are the leaders of the country letting people go just like that okay why aren't there like strict policies
short term vision on the short term ma chai remittance sochiyo short term ma sochiyo how much money we make like all these institutions your loans haru but how much money but how it's not long term vision if you want sustainability long term
all the companies in Nepal are suffering because of that no in a way I know there are so many restaurants popping up and how many people do you see in the restaurant you know
So that's what I was saying unless
सबै रेस्टुरेन्ट भर्नुपर्ने हो नि त एक हिसाबले त
हामी सबै मिलेर के भइराछ अहिले कन्क्लेव्स भइराछ समिट्स भइराछ इफ यु लुक इन न्युजपेपरमा हेऱ्यो फेसबुकमा इन्स्टाग्राममा हेऱ्यो भने देयर आर इभेन्ट्स ह्यापनिङ लेफ्ट राइट एन्ड सेन्टर तर के भयो लाइक यु सेड इकोनोमी हो नि नेपाल हो नि त सो द्याट्स वाइ आई डिडन्ट वान्ट टु डु दिस इभेन्ट सेङ मार्केटिङ कन्क्लेभ विच इज वाट सब्जेक्ट आई लभ इट इज नेपालमा फ्युचर छ अनलेस दिस सेक्टर्स कम टुगेदर एन्ड वर्क and stop thinking about mero business ko short term goals we are not going to change this so this has to be a joint effort sectors will have to come together and think about hami sabai milera kaam garyo bhane focus on the user base as well manchele rakhne basa na nepal ma bhanera no one will stay you will have to show them opportunities and be like this is why you should stay you will 1.5 lakh kamauna सक्छ त तिमीले तपाईले 1.5 लाख कमाएर यहाँको स्पेन्डिङ पनि त्यस्तै हुन्छ यहाँ एटलिस्ट यु हेभ कम्फर्ट यहाँ घरमा हेल्प पनि हुन्छ सो 1.5 लाख कमाउनु पनि सकिन्छ अनि यस्तो गर्न सकिन्छ 1.5 लाख भनेको इट इज अ भेरी भेरी अचिभेबल नम्बर बट पिपल थिङ्क 50,000 30,000 हो सो अपस्केल गर्नुहोस् 2 लाख हुन्छ 5 लाख हुन्छ महिनाको बट द्याट इज पोसिबल बट द क्वेसन इज वेयर एन्ड द्याट्स वाट विल आन्सर
आई एम सो होपफुल फर दिस इभेन्ट let's just finger crossed राम्रो हुन्छ होला right and hopefully we can create at least एकजना मान्छेले मात्र ल नेपालमा फ्युचर छ म यहीँ बस्छु यहीँ काम गर्छु भन्ने सोच्न बनाउन सक्यो भने र उसको एक्चुअली पछि फ्युचर राम्रो भयो भने चाहिँ द्याट विल बी आवर विन
नेपालमा फ्युचर छ भन्ने प्रश्नको उत्तर दिने र टु गिभ माई बेस्ट चाहिँ द्याट्स वाट आइम गोना डु सो दिस इज गोइङ टु बी माई वान अफ माई लेगेसिज द्याट्स हाउ आई फिल म त आई वाज टेलिङ आई क्यानट स्लिप अनि मलाई कस्तो लाग्छ भने मैले कसरी गर्ने जस्तो पनि लाग्छ दिस इभेन्ट इज अ म्यामथ अन्डरटेकिङ तर मलाई कस्तो लाग्छ मैले गरेन भने कसैले पनि गर्दैन भनेर इट फिल्स लाइक इट डज फिल लाइक अ कलिङ सो let's see
congratulations to you on thinking like that and
I
congratulations
won't accept it yet let me execute किनकि गफले मात्र हुँदैन गरेर देखाउनु पर्छ म कोशिश गर्छु
of course I जति मलाई I know how you are and I'm sure you're going to do great I'm sure you put your like 110% to this event seeing your passion in this अनि नै मैले पनि भनेको कि म पनि I'll do whatever I can from my level and whatever small things I can contribute towards your vision of this Nepalma future cha ko lai because I feel the same everybody feels the same but yeah so sabaile आफ्नो लेभलमा गर्न सके जति कन्ट्रिब्युट गर्यो भने के न के त हुन्छ हैन करोडौंमा नपुग्ला रे हजारौंमा त पुग्ला हजारौं नपुगे 100 मा त पुग्ला एकजनाको मात्रै बने पनि I think it's a successful event just like
I agree with you
so
I just wanted to tell a little bit of a story यो नेपालमा फ्युचर छ इभेन्ट किन गर्न सोचेको भन्दाखेरि यो पालि अस्ट्रेलिया जाँदाखेरि धेरै वर्ष बसे पनि यो पालि भिजिट गर्दाखेरि मैले भने जस्तै आई मेट सो मेनी नेपाली दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनीहरू वी आर स्ट्रगलिङ इन अस्ट्रेलिया नट जस्ट यो मेन्टल हेल्थको एपिडेमिक जुन चाहिँ छ लोनलिनेसको वाइ इज द्याट ह्यापनिङ एउटा कम्युनल त्यो छैन अनि अस्ट्रेलियामा पनि रेन्टल क्राइसिस भइरहेछ काम पाउन त्यति सजिलो छैन रेसिजम बढिरहेछ त्योभन्दा पनि आई एक्सपिरियन्स एयरपोर्टमा नै मैले एउटा सानो आई टोल्ड यु अ स्टोरी एयरपोर्टमा when you check in, the lady was so nice to me until she saw my passport. But what that is telling you is that why are we putting up with this behavior and why are people just leaving Pantoni? Why are you leaving your country where you can earn and go to a country, any other country where you are willing to suffer? Suffer गरेर किन बसिरहनु भएको छ मैले भने नि मेरो DMs मा पनि people who write to me मेरो audience है professional network हो a lot of question I get is मलाई फर्किन मन छ नेपाल कसरी फर्किने के गर्ने होला मसँग जवाब छैन सो नेपालमा फ्युचर छ किन गर्न लागेको भन्दाखेरि मैले मैले जवाब दिनु पऱ्यो कि बोलेर मात्र हुँदैन, के पनि हुँदैन. अब एभ्री वान्स बिन टकिङ अबाउट इट. वी अल टक अबाउट द लाइक यु सेड प्रब्लमको कुरा गऱ्यो. अनि मैले लिङ्क्डइनमा धेरै पहिला के भनेको थिएँ भने म कोसिस गर्छु जवाब दिने भनेर. अनि दिस इज माई अकाउन्टेबिलिटी. सो द्याट इज वाइ आई वान्ट टु डु दिस इभेन्ट बिकज someone has to answer this question and now is the perfect time to do it.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you. I appreciate support like yours and I am relying on partners like you to help me make it.
Hopefully we'll get more partners. We are planning to reach out to everyone possible to give their little bit of time, effort, money, whatever they can to contribute towards this collective vision. And this is not just यो कुरा चाहिँ नि नेपालमा फ्युचर छ. द क्वेसन मार्क इज नट जस्ट एन इभेन्ट के, इट्स अ क्वेसन फर एभ्री भनौँ नेपाली पर्सन नि होइन, इन अ वे राइट. एभ्रीबडी हेज द्याट क्वेसन नि. एन्ड वी जस्ट ट्राइङ टु क्रिएट एन इभेन्ट वेयर पिपल गेट अ लिटल बिट अफ एन्सर, आई गेस होइन. होपफुली हेरौँ के हुन्छ.
हामीलाई त अलरेडी बनिसकेको छ नि त. फर मी इट्स अ मुभमेन्ट.
On that note, thank you so much for your time, for your patience with me.
It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and putting up, giving your thoughts on different things. And you know, अब एड्स पडकास्टमा चाहिँ कस्तो भन्दाखेरि अलिकति because it's एड्स पडकास्ट अनि प्रमोसन गर्नु इज अलाउड क्या जे होइन, यु नो व्हाट आई मिन. एडभर्टाइज गर्ने पडकास्ट हो. सो मैले अस्ति पनि भनेको थिएँ नि, what are we going to talk about? Advertise whatever you're doing होइन. त्यही चिजलाई पछि क्लिप बनाएर इल बी एन एड फर यु. यही पडकास्टको सर्टन क्लिप्सहरूलाई के अरे घुमाइवराइ काटिवरी आफ्नो एड बनाउन मिल्यो. इट्स एड्स पडकास्ट. सो whoever my guests, everybody gets their clips. So that's
marketing.
So that's I'm trying to just create a small dent in the marketing industry.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes, and I'm glad you are, and you're doing an incredible job. So is your team.
Thank you so much.
I'm very glad to be here.
Thanks so much. And
thank you.
We actually have a small
I
gift
get
for
a
you.
gift?
Of course. It's from Bookverse.
I love books.
And I'm sure you'll love this book as well. 10% happier.
I love it. How I tamed the voice in my head.
So Bookverse ko चाहिँ नि यता सिभिल मलमा छ.
I've been. I love their store.
Right?
I love their store.
Very nice. So
Thank
a lot
you
of collection
so much.
of books and
I always tell people if you ever think of what gift to give me, books are always the right answer. So thank you.
I hope you like the.
I already like the heading of it.
I chose it for you anyway.
Like she needs reduced stress. I appreciate it.
So because you on the other day when we met, you said कि मतलब रातभरि सुत्नै सकेको छ मलाई यसो भने. So don't be stressed. Be 10% happier.
The passionले गर्दा हो, अरु भन्दा पनि stress हैन. I'm very passionate about it, so I appreciate it.
All right. All the best for all these things that you're trying to do.
Thank you.
The impact that you want to create, and thank you so much for giving this time to me and as podcast.
You.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ads Podcast. Cheers.